Sign language users of Reddit. What is a common sign you see people do without being aware they are doing it? Vagina. It always makes me giggle a bit. This happens a lot in Oregon. The University of Oregon sports fans have a lot of spirit, and they like to put their hands together in a O and cheer. Unfortunately, many of them put their hands together in the wrong way, and you have half a stadium signing vagina and shouting an extended O in excitement. There was a fad a few years ago where people did peace signs on their foreheads in self-iso. That means in ASL. Also frequent to see people say vagina lesbiano or period. Occasionally hearing people mess up trying to sign thank you to me and accidentally say a fuck or My calc teacher is guilty of the thank you / fuck you mix up. I see. Lesbian. Signed out without being aware it's the first finger and thumb in the shape of an L placed on the chin. People do this when pondering something. Edit. Wow, quite the response. Some of your replies are funny too, like how in Filipino it's handsome. And for those the asked no deaf people don't even tend to notice unless someone does it excessively. Have fun watching for it now. It would be really funny to get a video of someone who gestures a lot when they give speeches and do subtitles, as if you're interpreting their gestures with the nearest equivalent AFL signs. Like an AFL version of bad lip reading on YouTube. My stupid ass literally thought for a second, how are they gonna see this? Third F. Save me from myself. How are they gonna see this? Third F. Their dog will read it to them. Dumb. A colleague of mine once told me a story about how he was singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for a group of children. When he noticed a lady at the back of the room stifling a laugh, she approached him afterwards to apologize and explained that his hand symbol for star was pretty much sign language for vagina, so couldn't help her reaction. He altered the delivery of the song for future audiences. Wow, I have been making that same sign for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star my whole life. BSL user here. You should know that whenever you do a double-handed finger gun, you are dangerously close to saying a urinal so. From now on my standard greeting will be a double-handed finger gun. Worked security in a Class A office building with a guy who had a deaf daughter. Every once in a while he would slip signs in as he was talking. Had a lady file a complaint against him for blowing her a kiss, so he had slipped into signing and said thank you. Edit. Wow. Went for a walk and this took off. So, for context, this was a large office building owned by a national bank who occupied about 40% of the space. The lady was an employee of said bank. We were employees of a security company contracted by the building managers, and people generally look down upon those working in security, hence the complaint. As for what happened with it, the property people let my boss do an investigation without having a knee-jerk reaction. They were pretty cool that way. My co-worker explained what happened, and that was that. It also helped that there were 2 deaf workers in the LATASHÁ zone department that knew that my guy could sign. My co-worker seemed amused by the whole situation. My old neighbor was a speech therapist, so she often slipped sign into conversation. What was odd to me is that she did not notice when people signed back. My youngest son was functionally deaf until after ear surgery and would often sign, and it just slipped by her. My good daughter's son signed for nearly 4 years before he decided to talk. No physical reason, he was just more comfortable with it. And again she never noticed. Seemed so odd. Edit. I am leaving it lol. My goddaughters are the only daughters I have, and they are both good, so it works lol. That is what happens when you reply without reading it back. I took sign language for 3 years at high school. Our principal would incorrectly sign the word thank you and would instead do the sign for the word My sign language teacher let her do it for 3 months before correcting her. Edit. This is the sign for thank you. http www.signingsofthe.com/sign/thank%20u/426/1. This was the sign my principal was doing, thinking it was the word for thank you. http www.signingsofthe.com/sign/slut/7921/1. How many times I've seen guys unknowingly sign lesbian in ASL when flirting with girls in real life, and in the movies. D. This sign. My gay brother used to do this in pictures and someone pointed out one day what it meant. He only did it more after that, and when he was talking about his lesbian friends would do the sign when talking about her sexuality. The sign for go. My man. I briefly took a sign language class in college. On day 1, the teacher assigned all of us name signs related to the first letter of our first names. My first name starts with C, and she assigned me a name sign with a C shape signed on my left chest, which I later learned is the actual sign in my area for citation. The chest position relates to the position of a police officer's badge, I guess. I was mostly amused. If this is ASL, it also means police officer. Fatter is a fairly common sign name for people who start with C though. The sign for the number 6. When you are trying to indicate 3 by holding 3 fingers up with the pointer, middle and ring finger, you are saying 6 in sign language. The number 3 is pointer, middle and thumb. I once had a student that didn't even use the ASL 6. Her version of 3 was actually equivalent to ASL 7. It was so weird. I'm not a sign language user, but giving the middle finger in Korean sign language means mountain, because it comes from the shape of the Chinese character that means mountain. My ASL teacher taught me that the middle finger in Japanese sign language is their sign for brother. I love that it's mountain in KSL. Close bracket. I just started learning sign language. I don't know anything particularly funny, but I thought they were interesting to find out. The little hand jiggle that people do to say so kinda means the same thing in sign. When you snap your fingers or pat your leg to call your dog, you're saying dog. Blowing a kiss is very similar to thank you. Also, a lot of people talk with their hands and end up sort of opening their hands palm up in front of them, kind of like saying wah literally means what in sign. Part of me wonders if we adopted those gestures from sign, or if sign adopted them from fidgety people. Anyone know the history of the development of sign who can answer that? If your sign language teacher did not tell you that those signs were adopted from those gestures, then you should tell them to include that in the curriculum. My teacher always tells us how the sign came to be. Every time you make a thumbs up, you're saying the number 10. Every time you do the OK sign, you're saying the number 9. Every time you cross your fingers, it's the letter R. Now, when I do the OK sign, I'm saying the letter F. ASL. Every time people clap, they are unintentionally signing a school edit. To add of another one I thought of, the I am going to take your nose game you play with kids becomes a ret or or paper. Hamburgers are a rarity unless the user is being overly dramatic. Edit or becomes Tuesday if you give the T a swirl, knuckles facing towards your face. It's also Tuesday today. Catching. The most common one I see people do inadvertently is there and here. I think because it is so common to just point and something and say redditors over tero. In terms of rude signs, vagina all the time, and oddly very frequently amongst YouTubers. It is madness. Michelle Obama was signing it on the cover of Reader's Digest a few years ago. Lesbian. It's when people pose putting a L-shaped hand to their chin for pictures. As a lesbian, it always makes me chuckle when someone texts me DDD. Anytime you've held up your index finger and your middle finger to indicate 2, then corrected yourself and held up your ring finger to indicate 3, you've unintentionally advertised for Volkswagen. I need to write them a letter and demand my 3 cents for doing so. I know this dude that would absent-mindedly hit the top of his fist with the bottom of the other. What he didn't know is that this is a sign for masturbate. Oh god, that is not far off from a walker, but you touch your wrist instead of your fist. Gotta keep an eye out for that one lol. Before I started learning ASL, I used to brush my hair away from my face in a way that kinda looked like the sign for whore, if I am remembering correctly, which I am sure confused a few people. What a horrible mistake. only tangentially related, but I have a deaf regular customer who will sign at me and or point, with the occasional note in a pinch, and some things are hilariously clear. She managed to communicate. WTF. Did someone smoke a bowl up in here? It reeks of weed, with perfect clarity, no note required. Bet she was not wrong. A while back there was a little kids choir, completely forgot why I saw it, and they were singing several songs, mostly things like nursery rhymes, and woulda hurrah signo, along to the lyrics. When they were singing a twinkle twinkle little star, they all simultaneously had been told to make the shape of a star instead of doing the actual sign. The so turned out to be water's equivalent to a vagina in sign language LMAO. It was not like the instructor, who knew a bit of ASL, was able to explain what they were actually signing. They were literally preschoolers slash kindergarteners. This looks a lot like the story of you slash capped vulnerable. I seem to notice a lot of people with their middle fingers out as they drive past me. I just smile and give them a little wave and think how funny it would be if they knew what they were saying. I know you're joking, but when I studied ASL in HS and college, people always thought they were hilarious when they would say, "I know sign language too," and flip me off. Ha ha ha, haven't heard that one in Czechs watch at least an hour. Pro tip, saying sign language is like saying spoken language. There are dozens of different sign languages, the most common in the United States being ASL. Even the British Sign Language is different, the alphabet even. American Sign Language is more closely related to French Sign Language because of those two Frenchmen coming off a boat with intentions to spread sign language. My history is rusty. In sports, and with most people in general, when they show out a 3 on their hands they will touch their pinky finger to their thumb, which is the ASL numerical sign for a 6 which is also the letter W. It always cracks me up cause all I see is 6. I also see people who are expressive with their hands while speaking English, and I'll automatically get excited and zone in to see if they are signing. Typically they are not though. Then I get disappointed and laugh at myself lol. I was learning sign and met a lot of deaf people during that time. I thought I signed Uranus to meet you, but apparently signed Uranus to fuck you. The man was very nice when he corrected me, but joked that he did not think my husband would appreciate that very much. I've been told that the way I scratch my neck looks like I'm saying fuck you, essentially in sign language. With the back of your hand, scratch from your throat to the tip of your chin to out in front of oil in one fluid motion. That is, fuck you. People do I love you when trying to do rock on a lot. Yay, rock on is just the pointer finger and pinky to simulate devil horns. It irks me when people add the thumb. That is not rock, it's I love you. I am not fluent in sign language, but I have been teaching certain signs to my 15-month-old, learning as we go. I see the sign for Ariel Dorno every day. Here's Neil deGrasse Tyson doing it unintentionally. The signs for Thanko and Fucko are awfully similar. I went to RIT and had classes with a lot of ASL users. After a presentation I signed what I thought was Thanko to find out later from my friend who started laughing immediately that it was actually Fucko. Rubbing your palms together means or anticipate, which does actually make a lot of sense given how people use it anyway. When you shake your hand with the pinky and thumb out, I forget what the phrase is in English. It means yellow, mostly seen done by surfers. Hang loose. A friend's dad was trying to ask his teenage son and his friends if they wanted pizza. Anytime he did not know the sign to a word, he mimicked it. So instead of asking if anyone wanted to eat pizza, he asked if they wanted to eat pussy. Yeah, I could eat. The sign for menstruation is just a fist, the ASL. A handshake, tapped against your cheek twice with your fingers in towards your cheek. I, a female, would commonly casually do it while in class with my male friend, who is deaf, when we were in high school. Obviously I knew what it means. It was just funny to get him blushing, because he was a young male and menstruation is often weird for them. I have also seen people do it accidentally while thinking or something, though. The Auslan sign for sex is very similar to what I have seen some non-signing people do for a which always makes me giggle. http www.auslan.org.au/dictionary/words/sex-1.html. Wait. Also, the second sign for holiday. My favorite. Catch ya later, bitches. I am off on holiday. http www.auslan.org.au/dictionary/words/holiday-2.html. Oh roly dio is my favorite reply in this thread. The OK hand gesture people uses the letter F in ASL, but ASL actually does have a sign for OK. The sign is literally just the letters OK or some just use K. In NZ sign the word for going to the bathroom or shit is the same as the name for a boomer paradise town called Whitby. I love it. Not a slew, but my boyfriend used to bus tables. He was working one day and simply scratched his chin. He scratches to where dirt does not get under his nails, because that is gross when you are cleaning people's tables. Apparently in the way he scratched his chin, upset a customer. They complained that he signed a fuck to the whole dining room, and that he needs to be careful. The manager asked if anyone in their party used signs so she could apologize. They said no and walked away.